Hey guys, this is Vanessa Dyer, and I'm the Charlotte, North Carolina-based lifestyle blogger behind thecheekybean.com. With several successful years as a business owner, a first-time mom, and a deep passion for health and wellness, I'm here to share my honest, unfiltered advice on all things motherhood, relationships, travel, and more. So grab a coffee and join the conversation. This is the Cheeky Bean Podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Cheeky Bean Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Dyer. Today is actually going to be a solo episode. I am sitting down for a heart-to-heart with you guys to kind of share where I've been at lately. We are going to talk mental health, we're talking fitness, hormones, we're going to talk about kids, wellness routine, confidence, goals, and more. I feel like I am currently in a transition period. It's definitely been a season of struggle and lots of change, and transparently, one that has not been easy. So I really want to share kind of what I've been going through with you guys, and I think that the podcast is going to be a great place to do so. Plus, this season has also really inspired me to be kinder, to give back where I can, and to ignite joy by doing so. So there's going to be a fun giveaway at the end. You're going to want to make sure that you listen all the way through so you can take advantage of that. And now, without further ado, let's do the damn thing. All right, so let's start with mental health and where I am at with that. I honestly have never really talked about this on any platform before, but I am really struggling right now. So to give you some context, I really struggled with mental health as a teenager. I moved from Florida, we lived in Orlando, Florida, to South Carolina when I was 16 years old. And as you can imagine, that was not an easy move on a teenager. So my world honestly unfolded upon arrival in South Carolina. We moved to this tiny little town called Lake Wylie. I went to Clover High School there, and I was literally dubbed the new girl for over 2 years because that high school rarely ever got new kids. And to be honest, the girls at that school were not kind. I played softball in Florida. I was a pitcher, and when we moved to South Carolina, I made the varsity team. And that kind of started the rumor mill before school even started. The coach had me come to the ball field. I did some practice runs with her. And then that's how she decided whether I was going to be on JV or varsity. So I think a lot of this, and that rumor mill stemmed from jealousy. But when you're 16 and you're just trying to fit in with this new crowd, it's really hard to stay mentally strong, even though I knew that is where the rumor mill and kind of the talk was stemming from. So without going into too much detail, it was a period of time that was really hard for me, but also very transformative. Now, fast forward to today, and I honestly have not struggled with mental health like that since then until recently. And this time, it's not really depression focused, it's anxiety driven. Now, I struggled with postpartum anxiety quite a bit after Liam, and when I was in it, I didn't realize what was happening. I knew that I felt anxious about him and overly protective, but I also thought that a lot of it just had to do with COVID and trying to protect him from getting that, because I also felt the same anxiety during my pregnancy. And it was all centered around the state of the world, COVID, what it does to an unborn baby, etc. I know a lot of moms who, have COVID babies can relate to those feelings. It was just honestly a really weird time for everyone. That started to dissipate a little after his first birthday. And honestly, 31 was truly my best year physically and mentally. We finally got full-time childcare for him when he was 20 months old. My body and my hormones were in its prime. Everything was functioning optimally. My mind was super clear. I was highly focused on new goals and aspirations with work, and our home life was absolutely thriving. I have always been someone who looks at the glass half full, or I really try to make an emphasis on that. I mean, the whole premise of my space on the internet has been built around empowering women to feel their best. So I've been super hesitant to share where I'm at mentally because it feels so negative. And I'm so aware of how blessed I am. I know that I have a beautiful family and a wonderful home that has been a labor of love and something that I'm so proud of. I know I have a thriving career and for the most part, fairly healthy. So this fear that I've created in my head around sharing where I'm at is that people will look at this and think that I'm complaining, which is absolutely not what I'm trying to do. So it took me a long time to figure that out. Okay, how can I share this? Because I think it should be shared. I'm always transparent about life and where I'm at and health and wellness. But what's the takeaway here for people? And I think the more that I thought about that, the more I realized that I think the key takeaway is just the transparency and relatability. It's okay to not be okay. Nobody's life is 100% rainbows and butterflies at all times, no matter how much they want you to think that. And I'm just in a major season of growth right now, which feels really uncomfortable. So some of you may know this from social media, others may not, but back in February, I had to have a procedure done to remove cervical precancer cells. Basically, I had years of irregular PAPs, then multiple biopsies that came back with the irregular cells, and that eventually led to the need to have those precancer cells completely removed. So basically, they go in with a laser and they shave off the outer layer of your cervix. It's a pretty routine procedure, but nonetheless, the entire thing was definitely weighing on me. Both sides of my family have had various types of cancer in them, and my parents both lost a parent or both parents to some form of cancer at a very young age. So it's always been something that I've been hyper aware about. And I honestly think it's part of the reason I'm so health focused, because I've always just wanted to try and prevent that situation from happening to me. So this procedure in February was really the start of my anxiety journey. It typically takes 6 months after you have that procedure for those cells to stop showing up. So for 6 months, this was in the back of my mind. And similar to the postpartum anxiety I experienced with Liam, I didn't really realize that it was weighing on me that way until I got the call in July that I finally had a normal PAP and everything looked great. And I immediately burst into tears. And when I did that, it just felt like such a weight was lifted. And so at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, this has been affecting me more than I thought it was. Like if this is my reaction when the doctor calls, this has definitely been weighing on me pretty heavily. But unfortunately, that was just a starting point. We were just starting there. So without going into too much detail, again, there have also been a lot of other things that are out of my control, but definitely affecting my mental health. And essentially my thought patterns are now fear-based, and that in turn is creating a negative impact on my mental health. I am someone who thrives off of routine and stability. And right now, I don't have control over these external factors that are happening, which is leading me down this anxiety-ridden path. I am a big advocate for therapy. So I started going back to a therapist, and she basically pointed out that my mind is living in fight or flight because I'm constantly living in this state of worry and what if. So my nervous system is in overdrive, which in turn is why I'm also experiencing the hormonal imbalances. I've talked about that on previous podcast episodes, but I'm also seeing changes in my body. I'm having issues with sleep, a weakened immune system. Kind of comes with a laundry list of symptoms. It basically affects everything. And when something happens that feels overwhelming, or in my case, when too many things happen all at once, we go down a step in the autonomic hierarchy to fight or flight. It's otherwise known as the sympathetic pathway. So fight or flight can actually feel like chaotic energy. Some people feel really mobilized to attack. Some people have the drive or need to escape. It can come out as anxiety. It can come out as anger. And I've basically been challenged by daily experiences between February and July that have put me in, honestly, these moments of messiness. Life kind of feels really messy right now. I'm lacking that structure. I'm lacking stability. And there are moments where I've lost my anchor, so to say, in the part of the brain that tells you that you're safe and that you're regulated. And that has been really hard for me. Some days I'm totally fine. And then other days it cripples me. Now, as you guys know, I have always been a fan of the holistic route, and I've done a lot of work to help my hormones and to make sure that all my vitamins and minerals are optimal, to listen to the advice of experts. I also eat pretty clean. But with this, it's literally just not enough. My mind and my body are incredibly sensitive to stress. And so I got to a point where I knew that I didn't want to be on an SSRI. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with being on that at all. It's just not the right solution for me. But I needed something to kind of help me out. And I know that this is just a season I'm currently going through. It's a moment in time that will eventually pass, but I worked with my GP to get on an as-needed anti-anxiety medication in conjunction with daily practices to try to shift my thought processes. And that's honestly been really helpful. So some of the tools or practices that I've been using for my mental health that feel like they're helping are writing in a gratitude journal every morning and every evening. I actually used to do this and stopped. I've talked about that in previous podcast episodes as well. And I think this time around, it's definitely a habit that I will keep forever. It's literally just a 5-minute journal. I can link it in the show notes. And it challenges you to think about what you are grateful for, what you want to accomplish in the day to make it great. It gives you daily affirmations to write about. And then in the evening, you reflect on the highlights of the day and you talk about something that you learned. So it kind of helps you shift that mindset to look at the positive that's going on in every day. And then I've also cut out my second coffee. I know you guys are not going to be able to believe that, but I've cut out my second coffee of the day for the most part, which has actually made a huge difference in my energy levels, believe it or not. Pretty shocking. You guys know that I love my coffee, but when you have anxiety, the caffeine actually heightens the anxiety. So it's sort of a forced tool or tactic that's probably better for me overall, because I sat down with Raya not long ago and we were talking about this and I was like, listen, I am not cutting out coffee. I can't do it. Like, we got to figure out a solution without that. But me cutting out the second coffee of the day, I'm not getting that second caffeine spike anymore that was sending my cortisol up and down. So my energy overall feels much more even keel and sustained throughout the day without it. So I've noticed, like, for me, the second coffee isn't always about the energy boost. I just like the activity of going to get a coffee. I like how it tastes. It kind of feels like a treat. So I've had to definitely do some work to cut that one out, but have noticed a huge difference in doing so. So that's a very helpful tool or tactic if you are somebody who struggles with anxiety and you're a coffee drinker. I have also dialed my workouts way back again and am only doing very minimal cardio. So I'm still working out, but because my mind and my body are in such a state of stress, I don't want to add more stress to it. So I'm essentially just lifting, I'm walking, I'm going to West Kept without the high intensity portion of the workout once a week still going to Ashton once a week, which there's hardly any cardio involved there. And the walking is actually like pretty therapeutic for me. Are you ready for a glow up? Find your perfect shade at No Shade Spray Tanning. Imagine achieving a gorgeous sun-kissed tan without the harmful UV rays. With No Shade Spray Tanning, you'll experience flawless, consistent results every time. Their expert technicians choose from a variety of solutions to fit your skin tone, desired results, and your lifestyle. They guarantee you'll never see orange with No Shade. No Shade Spray Tanning has 2 salon locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and mobile services in Charlotte, Greensboro, and Wilmington with no travel fees. Get that bridal glow, pre-vacation beachy bronze, or simply treat yourself with a confidence boost. Say goodbye to tan lines and hello to a beautiful, even tan that lasts at least 7 to 10 days. Book your appointment now at noshadespraytanning.com using the code CHEEKY10 at checkout for $10 off. Now, the next tip, I read the Anti-Anxiety Diet book and have been loosely following her recommendations for phase 2 of the diet, which essentially focuses on a higher fat, lower carb diet. I'm going to link that book in the show notes for you guys. It's from Amazon. Super easy read. If you like educational reads, even if you don't have anxiety, so many tangible tips. Basically, the higher fat is very satiating and comforting to the brain. And the recipes in that book have actually been delicious. Shane even loves them. They're all clean. She tells you exactly what ingredients and brands to purchase, and the meals taste really great. So I've been enjoying adding that in. And of course, time is always an issue for us. So I try to meal prep her breakfast options on Sundays. She has this chia seed pudding I just put in mason jars, pre-prep it on Sunday. I eat that for breakfast every day of the week. And then we follow her dinner options 3-ish times a week. It really kind of depends on how much time we have. So I'm not following it to a T, but it is helping. And the recipes are healthy and we enjoy how it tastes so much. The whole family does. So I feel like that's an overall big win, even if you remove the anxiety aspect of what's going on. Now, the next thing that I've done is dial back on work and allowing myself to have more fun. So for years now, I have been someone who looks at time as money. So if it wasn't productive or moving the needle forward in some way, I did not do it. My therapist has really encouraged me to take a step back. If I make less money, that's okay because we will be okay. But I need to learn to build time into my day to do things that I love outside of working out because I've always been good about building in time for that. But things like going for a long midday walk or grabbing lunch with a friend or going to the pool and just reading a book in the sun for an hour. This is a hard one for me because I'm so work driven that I almost feel guilty doing anything other than work during the workday. But it's good for me and I need that. I recently went and grabbed lunch with a few of my old coworkers a couple weeks ago, and it truly filled my cup. I am also going to take some time off in the middle of the week to just like sit, read a book, and be. And it's like I said, it's definitely going to be challenging for me. I'm trying to work my work schedule around, this time off, but I also think I'm at a point where I just truly need to be okay with taking that time to not be a mom, to not be a wife, to not be a boss, and focus on what fills my cup up. The next little tool in my toolbox. I've been doing the advanced light therapy bed at the Invigory twice a week. There are over 4,000 studies on how advanced light therapy can help with inflammation. It can alleviate pain, like if you have arthritis or something like that. Muscle fatigue and soreness, it improves sleep, it gives you better circulation, it enhances your mood and your overall energy. And then it has a setting on it specifically for anxiety. So I've been utilizing that as a tool. It's just 20 minutes of my day where I get to just turn everything off and do something for me. So I've been a big fan of that. Now, I also downloaded the Mantra app. It's an app that sends you positive affirmations throughout the day. And it's just a nice little reminder when I pick up my phone that inserts positivity throughout your day. And when I'm doing my gratitude journal, sometimes it's really hard to kind of think of new positive affirmations every day. So I'll refer back to the app and I'll pick one that really resonates with me for the day. And then the last thing that I do that I've noticed a huge difference with is bone broth. So not only is bone broth really good for anxiety because it helps calm the nervous system down, it's like very satiating and calming. It's warm, but it's also really good for your skin. So bone broth has a ton of protein in it. It has like 20 grams of protein in a cup. It also has a ton of collagen. So you're going to get all the benefits of your skin. So that one's kind of like a double whammy. And to be honest, it really tastes great. I love the brand Brave Broth. They're local to Charlotte, but they do ship. So I've just been shipping a box of that as needed to the house. And that has been a really big game changer for me too. So if I feel really nervous or like I feel the anxiety coming on, I'll make a cup of bone broth. You're going to want to do that like 3 or 4 times a week. And I definitely see an immediate difference in how I feel. Now, a few things that my doctor and therapist have recommended are meditation and yoga. And I will be the first to say I have always been a bit skeptical of both because they've always just kind of felt a little bit woo-woo to me and honestly just too slow for my liking. But given that I'm in the position that I'm in, I am trying to accept that I should play into it and give it a chance. So I've been using the meditation feature on the Peloton app since I already have that. And honestly, I really like it so far. My doctor also said that they have a walking meditation that you can do if you don't want to sit still, which is definitely more up my alley. Sometimes it just feels too slow for me. Haven't tried that out yet, but again, time is always a constraint for me. And even just adding in a 10-minute meditation in the mornings is sometimes hard to like pencil into my schedule. But if I make it a priority, I have seen that it has helped me set the tone for the day. Now, something else that I really like and I need to make more time for is Westkept has a restore class. So I went and tried that with Meryl earlier this year, sometime in April, I believe it was. And I wasn't really expecting much because, again, I don't thrive in the slower paced environment, but I actually loved it. It forced me to slow down. The stretches felt so good in my body, and I actually cried at the end of it. It was like it gave me the space I needed to have a mental release. So making time for something like that on a Sunday is something I want to lean into going into the second half of this year. So the next chapter of this conversation is how all of this has affected me physically. Working out, taking care of myself, and fitness have always been a defining part of my life and something that I think about a lot. So reaching my version of my fittest self, so to say, was a huge goal of mine this year. And to be honest, this whole thing has really humbled me. Because my systems have all of the alarms going off, it's been a lot harder for me to lean out and tone up than it was, say, last year. It's like my body's hanging on to every last little bit because it's in distress. So while I have successfully put on 5 pounds of muscle, which is really hard to do, I have also gone from 18% body fat to 22%. And the cellulite, which has always been a huge insecurity of mine, is much more prevalent at 22%. And to be honest, that's really ruined my self-confidence. And I know it sounds dramatic, but here I am in the best shape of my life. I'm releasing a fitness program that's worked wonders for me. And 8 months later, I'm just not loving where I'm at physically. So I told my therapist, it literally makes me feel like I have imposter syndrome. I'm doing everything that someone should be doing to see the results, and yet it feels like I took a step backwards. But such is life. People's physiques ebb and flow, and it truly will force you to take a good hard look at self-love. So I don't know if you guys follow Valentina on Instagram, but she's a fitness model with an amazing athletic build who I have followed for some time now. And around Thanksgiving last year, she got really sick. I believe she said she had hyperthyroidism, if I'm not mistaken. But it took her doctors a while to figure out what was going on. And she essentially went from being in insane shape to losing all of her muscle mass completely in the matter of just a few months. So she shared this entire journey with her audience, which was really eye-opening to see, because if your body isn't functioning optimally, it doesn't matter what you do in the gym or with your nutrition or supplements you're taking. It's just your body is just going to do what it needs to do to feel safe. That said, I don't work out solely for the physical aspect. That's a nice bonus. So I'm still there 4 to 5 days a week. I am getting my movement in while also trying to work on my mental health. And once I can get that in order, I think it will reopen the door to leaning out again while also retaining the muscle that I've spent this year building. Moral of the story, life changes year to year, and I think this is the season of learning to embrace a slower life for me. Learning to rewire my brain to not look at the things from a fear-based standpoint and trust that everything will work out the way that it's meant to work out. It's learning to truly listen to what my body is telling me. At the end of the day, you can build the biggest business ever. You can have the best body. You can make the most amount of money. But when you look back, the things that you care about the most are the memories you've made. The happiest moments of my life aren't memories around how I looked at a certain time or what deals I landed or what worried me in a given moment. They're all trips that my husband and I took together when our phones were off and stress was non-existent because we were just so focused on living in the present. Or sometimes they're around relationships we've built with friends where, again, our phones weren't present and we were fully living in those moments, enjoying each other's company. Or they're watching the world through my son's eyes. There's nothing more precious than that. So don't get me wrong, I love my job and I'm very thankful for that because I know all too well what it's like to not love what you do every day. But for some reason, I don't know what it is right now, and I'm sure I'll look back at this time and understand it. This is the season of leaning into the things that truly bring me joy, working on the things that fulfill me versus the obligations in life. Anyway, guys, that's kind of the update. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a reminder, we do episodes every Wednesday, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so that you never miss an episode, and please leave a review if you enjoyed this. In the spirit of joy and goals, I want to do a giveaway for you guys. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I have a goal of reaching 200 reviews on Apple. So let's give away a box of my favorite things. I am thinking we'll do the 5-minute journal, a skincare item, my favorite book right now, my go-to lip color, and a few other things. Please rate, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and then take a screenshot and send it to the Cheeky Bean Podcast Instagram page, and we will choose a winner to win a box of my favorite things. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye!